Very good. Lily and Freema both join us now, and welcome. It's lovely to have you here today. So I'm just going to set the scene a little bit from that. I mean, it's set in the glorious seaside town of Margate, which is lovely, and it really focuses on the lives of this working-class family living in a council estate, and it's the dynamic between the sisters, really, that comes into question. So just explain who you are.
My character is called Mel.
Yeah.
And my character's called Trish.
Trish is the older sister, isn't
Yeah.
she? So she's pregnant with her third child at the moment. So she's kind of this sort of tour de force, really, very, very passionate about her kids their entire life.
Yep.
You, on the other hand, have been in Paris.
I've been in Paris doing something in fashion.
Yep.
And have sort of found myself back in Margate. Not really that happy about it.
No.
I've kind of enjoyed Paris, but yeah, and then sort of chaos ensues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, well, you've said it with Trish, she does come across as this kind of front-footed, sort of outspoken character, but I think beneath that tough exterior, as we get to know her, she does have that vulnerability there, and she does miss her sister terribly, but she'd never admit that.
Right.
And they, you know, you learn from, as the script goes on, that they did have a really close relationship, but then jealousy and abandonment sort of makes them drift apart a little bit, feelings of those things. But then I feel like when they're on the same page and they're together and in love, they like beat with the same heart. Everything's so at like maximum level with them, and then when they hate each other, they just want to destroy each other.
Classic family dynamics, actually.
It's got Motherland fans really excited, hasn't it? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, Motherland and Bad Sisters as well. You know, it's the production company is Sharon Horgan's production company, Merman. And that was certainly something that attracted me to it in the first place. The script itself just holds up, though, doesn't it? It's
100%.
just, it's really interesting. It covers so many different things, class and race, and I mean, it's brilliant. We love it.
And this is a powerhouse of a female cast as well. And I loved with the way you described it, actually. You said that the set felt really nurturing.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really lovely way of putting it. Why did you feel like that?
I just felt like, depending on what mood you were in at any one time, if you wanted to go and have a laugh with somebody or a deep dive conversation about something like really serious or like creative analysis or whatever it was, you could find somebody that would nurture that in that moment and help you feel. It did have a community feel about it, I felt. And you know, it was very female-led, and there was that sisterhood kind of feeling, and that's all the way through from on-set to the production. The writer's room was all female.
Yeah, that's quite intriguing, this writer's room, because I didn't really understand what that meant. I was looking at it, I was like, God, this is a great idea. So this is sort of all-female writer's room. This is a way of getting real stories, sort of all sorts of, like, diverse stories, everything, real life brought on screen. Is this a good way of doing it?
I mean, I think so. It's my first foray into acting, so I don't really have anything to compare it to, but it felt very much, you know, I think sometimes we watch things about, you know, female-led dramas or comedies, and it sometimes is presented with a little bit of a male gaze, and you don't have that with this.
Yeah.
It's very much, it feels very authentic in that way. And it was just so, I couldn't even really put my finger on it when we were doing the rehearsal rooms. It was just like, the energy in the room was so kind and generous, and it didn't really hit me that it was because there were no men until a couple of days in. But yeah, it's a really, really nice way to work. I mean, for me personally, coming from, you know, live music, it's so male heavy, that industry. You know, people that work in constructing sets or whatever it is when you're travelling around performing. It's very male-led, that industry. So it was really nice for me to be in such a sort of female environment.
And you, as you said, this is your first foray into acting, and it's very different from what you've been done before. Even watching the clips of the show, you've never seen it before. So is it weird for you to sort of see you doing this sort of project?
Yes. It is weird, but it's really enjoyable. I mean, I've kind of, my life's changed so much in the last few years. You know, I'm sort of recently sober, well, 4 years, you know, clean and sober, and I've got a new husband, and we're sort of, you know, making a new life for ourselves in America, and I'm just sort of like trying new things out, and I'm so grateful for these opportunities and be able to step into projects like this. But yeah, it just feels very light and positive in a way that my life has not felt.
Good. Yeah, that's good to hear. And Freema, for you, slightly different here because obviously you've got Doctor Who and Law and Order, but this is the first comedy as such for you.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
I agree with Lily there that the environment did feel really permissive and open and collaborative. And I certainly heard you asking on occasions, questions, and I felt like I could as well, because you have to feel that's how you can grow and you can learn. You have to feel like you can. And our voices were very much welcomed and encouraged. And so, I didn't, it's been my first comedy, I didn't know what to expect, but I did feel watching a lot was incredible. And also the process is interesting. I've always felt like everything I've done before, I'm always building up on the character.
Yeah.
And with this, I felt like the more open we were and the more kind of relaxed about bouncing off of each other as well, it kind of was more helpful. I think that sometimes that nervousness can lend itself to drama because you can use that tension. But I think it's a hindrance in comedy. It just felt like having the rehearsal time was really good because we got to play. And we got to know each other all a bit better.
Which, for those dynamics, is really important. At the start of the show for me was Margate. I mean, it just looked glorious. I think you shot it and it was full sort of heat wave. I mean, look at it. It's just amazing.
That day was excruciating. It was that massive heat wave last summer, and, the government recommendations were to stay inside and drink lots of water, and instead I was walking along the beachfront in a black anorak.
You suffer for your art.
Dragging suitcases along. It was interesting, to say the least. But Margate is so brilliant. I absolutely love it there. And I hope we get a second series, we get to go back.
Well, it felt a bit like camp, didn't it? Like we were at a school trip.
Big school trip, Thank you for coming in. What we're talking about is Dreamland, and it's next Thursday on Sky Atlantic Plus and also on Now. Thank you.
Thank you.